Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Kaba Ilco number 15995RB 26D. This is a key and knob lever deadbolt replacement cylinder in a Russwin R1, a Russwin D1 Keyway. Let's do a quick visual tour of the item itself. Here's the cylinder, brass cylinder. This is in the satin chrome, so the face of the plug will be satin chrome. You're going to get a total of 6 tail pieces. You're going to get 3 tail pieces that will all look like this, except they're different lengths. They have a bird's mouth preparation so that you can install that tail piece horizontally or vertically. We'll go over the 3 different lengths in a moment. Okay. Then we have 3 tail pieces with this unusual pie shape cut out at the bottom. Their difference is only in that they're different lengths, the 3 that we have. That's meant for a deadbolt. That bottom prep allows, it's called lazy action. It's literally what it's called. Allows you to throw the bolt on a deadbolt, return the key back to vertical, and pull it out without dragging the deadbolt back with you. Then you're going to have a spacer, and then you're going to have just a ring that you would use to install the tail piece underneath the threaded cap that would be here. Okay. Then of course a couple of original look-alike style key blanks. That would be a Russwin head on the, or a bow I should say, on the key blank itself. We'll talk a little bit more about that Russwin in a moment. Being solid brass, extremely smooth operation. Why are you looking at this? What would cause you to look at a Kaba Ilco cylinder in a Russwin D1 Keyway? Let's talk about that. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Well, it's obvious that you have locks that you want to install a cylinder into, and you have the need for a D1 Keyway, a Russwin D1. This type of cylinder will fit into lots of generic designed locks, whether it be by Schlage or Arrow or Corbin Russwin, or lots of other people's designed locks, import material as well, and that's because this is a really generic design. This cylinder itself is going to be found in cylindrical locks. This type of cylinder can also be found in deadbolts as well, because this will be installed into the shell and held on with a screw and kept in the deadbolt shell itself. This will go into your key and knob lever locks. It can go into your key and lever locks as well. And the reason that that's possible is not only the composite or generic design of the cylinder itself, but because it includes all these different tail pieces, or these, they're tail pieces is what they are. So if you do any work with lock sets and knobs, you'll recall that the tailpiece is vertical, the tailpiece is horizontal on a knob. Okay, that's just a normal way that it's going to look. Well, this has a prep where you can turn that so that it's vertical, and that's what would be used in a lever lock. What happens in a knob where it's horizontal, can't really see that, where it's horizontal, the cylinder's like this. Well, when you put it into a lever lock, you lay that on its side. Now that tailpiece appears to be vertical. You know, that cylinder's on its side like that. That's just how commercial grade 2, grade 1 lever locks are designed. So those 3 tail pieces that you're going to use for knobs or levers, the length is, on the short one, about 5/8. That is marked RS. The next one, which is marked RM, that length, it's about 7/8. The longest one, which is marked RL, that length, about 1 1/16 inches. I don't know what those designations stand for. They obviously mean something to the factory, is the bottom line. The width of these is going to be 0.247 wide. The thickness, 0.093 thick. There have been times when I've taken these and I've had to grind them down a little bit. I've had to do unusual manipulations to them because I'm forcing the cylinder to work in some odd imported lock set. So I've had to grind that down severely, but I've always been able to make it work in the sense of doing some extra fitting, so to speak. Then you're going to have the 3 units that you'll use for the deadbolts. The short one is marked DS. That is about a 1/2 inch in length. The second one is marked DL. It's about 7/8 in length. The long one is LM. That is about 1 inch and 13/16 in length. Now, I said the term lazy action. That's really what it's called. In a deadbolt, in your mind's eye, when you put the key in, in a knob lock, when you put the key in and turn it, you want to retract the latch bolt. When you pull the key out, the latch bolt's going to stick back out. Well, with a deadbolt, you want to put the key in, throw the deadbolt, bring the key back to vertical, and pull it out without retracting the bolt. This allows, this pie cut preparation allows that tailpiece to rotate to, when you put the key in and turn it, it'll rotate it, but you can bring the key back to vertical without dragging that tailpiece back with you to force the deadbolt to be retracted. So that's why it's called lazy action. I like the term. It works. Much of the hardware industry is full of descriptive terms. Panic device. Okay, when would you use a panic device? When you're panicking, I suppose. is that if that's a multiple choice question, I'm going to go with that one. And here is the cylinder itself. This is going to be a this is a 6-pin cylinder. It's been pinned 5, and that's in the part number. The 15995 tells me that it's a 5-pin key on that D1 lookalike blank. There's 5 cuts on that. It is a 5-pin length key blank as well. If you have a 6-pin system, you'll want to order the 15996. Regardless, this is still drilled 6. There are 6 chambers in here. So if you ordered 5s by mistake and you have a 6-pin length key, you can use your 6-pin length keys. You can add the spring and the driver pin to this and have it work just fine. Being solid brass, that's what this is. Extremely smooth operation. You'll get years, if not decades, out of faithful service out of this. This is a threaded cap. You're going to depress that pin there. There's a spring underneath it. Don't lose that. You'll need that spring to get this to work. When you depress that, you can then unthread the cap. You can install your tail pieces, put it all back together, and you're good. If you have a weird operation out of your deadbolt, meaning you can't get the key out without locking or unlocking it, check the timing of this. You probably need to rotate that. Or if you've got a knob or a lever and you can't, you can only get the key pulled out when you turn it and the latch bolt retracts and you pull the key out like that. But then every other time the cylinder goes back like this and it doesn't work correctly, and that's because you've got the timing incorrect of the tailpiece in the back of the lock. Lots of cylindrical locks, deadbolts, they all work on the same principles. Occasionally you'll find one that just works in a weird way, or a way that's different than how the majority of these locks go back together when you're removing the knob to replace the cylinder. The best advice I can give in that regard is to simply make sure it works before you walk away, meaning it functions the way that you need it to function, that nothing's changed. The key operates in locked and unlocked position. You can remove it in both states, and you don't have any trouble with that. Now, Russwin D1. Let's talk about that. Kaba Ilco does keyways for their cylinders, and a couple of dozen different keyways. Russwin, Corbin, Sargent, Schlage, Weiser, Falcon, Arrow, Kwikset, other derivatives that I'm not thinking of right now. So I think what we'll do is let's switch to the screen view and let's take a look at all the supporting information. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. All right, here's the item that we are indeed looking at. That's a generic stock image from the factory. Speaking of images, let's take a look at some that I've taken and that are linked to down below. This is what the box looks like. RB. If I was going to think anything, I would think Sargent when I saw RB. But this is definitely nothing to do with Sargent. That's the contents of the box. There's your cylinder. Face of the plug, that's the broaching and the cylinder plug itself. The back side of the unit. We have some more images here to look at. There are your 3 lever knob deadbolts. Your 3 lever knob tail pieces. Your 3 deadbolt tail pieces. Your accessories. And then your 2 key blanks. Your 2 cut keys. That is definitely a Russwin look-alike bow. That's on there. Okay, now the extended description information. It says 6-pin. It really should say pinned 5, drilled 6 is what that ought to say. And we'll take a look at that information in a moment. Russwin D1, solid brass, cap retainer, threaded cap. It will work in these types of locks. Your Arrow, D, E, F, K. The D and the E were heavy-duty, were deadbolts. The D was their heavy-duty deadbolt, or I think still is. I'm not familiar with F and K. Schlage 100, 200, 400 H-locks. All of these have been discontinued with the exception of the 200. The point is there's still countless locks out there. H-locks, that was an interconnected lock. Schlage still makes an interconnected lock. It's just in their S series now. Most grade 1 and 2 knob cylinder lock sets and lever sets. Yeah, I mean, generic composite designs, it's going to fit. Corbin has their own odd tail piece, as does the Falcon T. You'll need extra parts for that. The 560, the 660, the ND series. ND series is not a deadbolt. ND is a cylindrical grade 1 lever lock. We'll see if we can get that corrected. That's what the broaching looks like in the cylinder plug. Now, there is a link below this video as seen here to the manufacturer's page. Let's dive into the brass cylinder manual that's here. We're going to be able to get to pretty early in the catalog. This is going to allow us to dissect the part number up here. So we have a 15995. We look down here, 15995. 5-pin combination knob deadbolt. If you need 6-pin, change it to 6. Yeah, it doesn't say drilled 5-pin drilled 6. And I won't stop and take this apart to make sure there are 6 chambers. I can't fathom that they have 2 different lengths of cylinder housings for either a 5 or a 6-pin. I think the only difference is that they're pinning at 5 and pinning at 6. So that's the first part of the part number. The second part of the part number is going to be our keyway. AA is in the example here, which is just arrow. Well, here's the rest of the chart. We have a very handsome quantity of available keyways. Well, our RB is right here, Russwin D1. What's nice about this chart is it also tells you the key blank that you would use. So you might say, well, I want 4 of these cylinders, but I need 25 key blanks because I'm going to do some locksmithing. And from that 1011 D1 back to the manufacturer's page, we can open up the key blank catalog, do a Control F or find function on your keyboard for 1011 D1, and you're going to find it. There's the key blank. Shows what the broaching looks like in the face of the cylinder plug. That's not what the key looks like. When you look at the tip of the key, that's what the cylinder looks like that you stick the key into. So if you're looking at a key, you're going to have to flip that around in your mind's eye. Very handy document, this key blank catalog. More about that in a moment. Also, once you know what the key blank is, you can do a find function on that as well. And then it will also show you the table of the replacement keys for the cylinders. So if you wanted Ilco blanks for a Corbin 60, there's the part number for a Corbin 60 blank from Ilco. Then, let's take our 1011 D1 back to the key blank catalog. We continue to search for that. We're going to certainly get to, and this comes up in the catalog 3 dozen times, it'll also show up in a cross-reference manual in the back. So I can cross-reference the Ilco to the Cole part number. I can cross-reference it to the Dominion part number. I can cross-reference it to the ESP part number, and so on. So if you have a key blank that's got some strange letters, alphanumeric characters on it, the jet key number, do a find function on your keyboard in this document, and you might be able to cross-reference it to something. You might have a jet part number, and you just want to find out what the Ilco part number is. Well, this cross-reference is how you're going to do that. Orion, and so on. You get the point of how this works. Okay, now you can pick your keyways here. Yales, Sargents. Like I had said Sargent earlier, Sargent has an RA through RC keyway. Yeah, it's right here. So when I think of RB, I mean, I literally think of Sargent's RB keyway. But anyway, Russwin D1, right there. Moving through the part number, you're then going to select your cam or tailpiece. That'll be on the next page in section 2. Because we're doing a 15995, this stuff doesn't apply. It's going to come with your tailpieces, so this step 3 is left blank. Then you have the finish of your plug, or the finish of the face of the cylinder on the scalp plate, whether it be a mortise or a rim cylinder. They can do different finishes. Cylinder plugs are historically only done in satin brass and satin chrome. That's changed, but I don't think Kaba Ilco has changed that. Then any keying that you would want done would come after that. Keying codes are here. The factory can do factory keying, and we can do all of the locksmithing services here as well. I'm an ALOA registered locksmith. I'm a institutional certified professional locksmith. I'm a ALOA master keying specialist. Blah blah blah. Just vanity projects. The point being is we can handle your keying here as well. If you needed a specific deployment of a number of cylinders where you wanted them keyed alike or keyed differently, master keyed, grandmaster keyed, whatever it might be, we can help with that. The rest of this catalog is handy, but when it comes to cylinders, this page 6 and page 7 is pretty much everything you're going to need, because this will also give you all the mortise and rim cylinders along with mortise thumb turns that you could use in all the different keyways. Okay, now there's an extremely important document because we're talking about Corbin, or I should say Russwin. Type in Corbin or Russwin in the search, and then let's pull up, get to the Corbin Russwin page. Any of these products that are Corbin or Russwin will get you here. The point of showing this to you is on this page is where the cylinder manual is from Corbin Russwin. If you are working on a Russwin or a Corbin Russwin keyway, this is the comprehensive governing document that spans 100 years of evolution of the Corbin and Russwin, Russell Irwin, P.F. Corbin keyways. I don't know where to start talking about this document. If you work with any of this material, you're going to want to absolutely know where to find this document and review it. We can immediately see the D series as a DH class in the bidding, and it has that Russwin bow on it. That's a Corbin bow. That's an old Corbin bow, and they have a new bow that kind of takes elements from all of these. It's got a little bit of this. It's got a little bit of this. It's got a little bit of this on it. DH class. So it's a D series. It's a D1. It's a DH class. Well, because I know this catalog, we're going to scroll down and get to the depth and spacing data and find DH class. And we should find two charts, a pre-System 70 and a System 70, which means in 1970, the company went from two-step to single-step in terms of progression. Different conversation that, if you want to talk about that, do so. We'll do so in another video, I suppose. Just scrolling, going through master ring, interchangeable core, special functions like brink and hotel functions until we get to the depth and spacing data. Okay, so DH class starts on page 61. We got a System 70, so that's a single-step system, the D1 through D4. This is everything you need to know about the science of the key blank that you're going to work with. Z and DH class System 70. High security, they've discontinued this. If you ever see a key with these notches on the bottom, you've got an unusual key, a very cool, unusual key. We've got Z class pre-system 70, DH class pre-system 70. That's a two-step system. They have 10 cuts, actually 11 cuts in this system. So depending on what keying system you're working with, if you've got, if you've got like number 7 pins, then you don't have a system 70. You've got a pre-system 70. Or if the thickness of your master pin is closer to 30 thousandths rather than, when it's a number 1 master pin, then you might know that you're in system 70. Or I think it's about 28 thousandths is what it is. System 70, let's see, a master pin is 28 thousandths. So if you look at it, well, there would be no number 1 master pin in a pre-system 70. There is, that's only about 14 thousandths of an inch. So you wouldn't have that master pin. Anyway, this catalog is really handy because it's going to allow you to do an incredibly deep dive into the history of Corbin, Russwin, and their parent companies, or what they were once upon a time. I don't, unless you are an incredibly gifted individual intellectually, I don't see it being very easy to successfully navigate and understand the environment of Corbin and Russwin without this manual. Medico's done a really great job with publishing a lot of their data, but they don't have 140 years of evolution like P.F. Corbin and Russell and Irwin does. This is, when you take locksmithing classes, you're going to get one of these manuals, most likely, is what you're doing. So, really great document. Wanted to bring that to your attention because this is dealing with a Russwin keyway. Okay. Here we go. Other items of note on the Corbin page, other items of note on the Kaba Ilco page would be, again, that key blank manual, the brass cylinder manual. There's owner's manuals here for key machines, and other encyclopedic documents are here. Kaba Ilco has a dimple key called the Gemini, and a Gemini is a very distinctive key. There's an Aloha Keynotes article on the Kaba Gemini. I think this was written by William Link, certified master locksmith, who's a instructor at Aloha. I believe he wrote this article. I don't see it credited to him, but I think he did. I've been in his class, and I believe he referred to this document and him as the author. So if you ever see a dimple key, a key with a flat-bladed key with the weird little shallow cuts on it, that's a dimple key. It's not only Kaba Gemini, but Sergeant Kiso and others use this sort of stuff. Positional master keying is what governs this. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. And of course, at the end of the day, the question is, why would I buy this? Why not buy a cylinder from Corbin Russwin? Well, they're going to only offer cylinders that fit their locks, is number one. They may not have a composite design that will fit Arrow and Schlage and all the copies and derivatives of those locks. Also, you might want a very high quality cylinder at a third the cost or a quarter of the cost. And that's where Kaba Ilco comes in. I'll always use their products whenever I have the opportunity to, meaning I need a relatively common keyway, and I don't need to order the manufacturer's original. And it's really a cost scenario. So this client bought 4 of these cylinders, and at the current cost, if Corbin Russwin made a cylinder, it's like getting 3 cylinders for the price of 1, or 4 cylinders perhaps. And D1 is still a keyway, of course, that Corbin Russwin supports. Certainly no problem getting that keyway from the factory, but when a less expensive, equal quality product does the job, and there's no reason not to do it, I think that's when you take a hard look at Kaba Ilco. Also, exceptional tech support they have there. Any questions on the 15995RB in a 26D, also available in an 04 for satin brass, or any other Kaba Ilco product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.